Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at today. My name is David Bayes with Cavalier Associates, and we have about 20 minutes of your time today. So we are going to jump right into this. Session is called The Three Burdens of Long-Term Care and the Rollover Strategy Most Advisors Miss. I'm going to ask Jen Wagner from One America. Please come on in and join us. All right. So getting right into it is we position this with advisors, and we have advisors position this with their clients, first and foremost, to lay down the foundation of long-term care. Most people think long-term care starts in the nursing home, in a wheelchair. It doesn't. It starts typically at home. It's when you notice mom's hand is shaking a little bit when she's grabbing the spoon, or the place where dad's put his shoes for the past 30 years, all of a sudden they're somewhere else. That's truly where long-term care kicks off. And we often think about long-term care in actually three burdens, even though we might not notice it. There's the emotional burden. That's the one that we can't help you insure against. You have to cross that bridge. You got to face those dead on. Nothing you can do about it. The economic burden is really the catalyst for most long-term care insurance conversations. It's the administrative burden that's really the missed point for most people. It's the blind spot. It's the one they're not thinking about. This is the one where whoever it is that's taking care of the individual who's on claim, and I don't mean physically taking care of them. I'm not talking about helping them get up, move around. I'm not talking about doing the laundry, doing the dishes, or cooking for them. I'm talking about arranging the care providing services, making sure that person is showing up every day, making sure they're doing their job. Not a day goes by where you can't flip on the news channel and see some level of senior abuse at some facility or in their home somewhere. It is every single day. They are the most vulnerable demographic in our country for fraud and abuse. And there is no time where they're more vulnerable than during long-term care. And if you partner with the right insurance companies, some of that can actually be taken off your plate. Some of that economic burden can be taken off of their plate or your plate. And lastly, that allows you to focus on the emotional burden, allows you to work with, whether you're the claim provider, you're the care provider, you're working, whether it's your parent or your clients, you're able to focus on actually providing them the emotional care that they need. And so what we're going to jump into here, and I'm going to pass the torch over to Jen Wagner from One America. And if you don't know Jen, she's amazing. Jen and I have run around for the past 2 years talking about exactly what we're going into right now. And we've watched exponential growth for advisors who are either doing a little bit of long-term care and wanting to really grow that part of their business, or those that don't do any of it now, but they're being asked about it by their clients and they don't even know where to start. So Jen, I'm going to pass the torch over to you. Will you go ahead and take care of, walk everybody through this huge missed opportunity? And as we go through this, if you have any questions for myself or for Jen, you can open up the Q&A chat box and enter them in there. We will make sure to either answer them as we go through this or connect with you after. So Jen, tell us how we can use qualified funds to actually pay for tax-free long-term care.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to share this because, One America is the only carrier that offers a turnkey solution using qualified money to fund and pay up a long-term care policy, not just for one individual, but also for their spouse. So in this example here, we call it Asset Care Annuity Funding Whole Life. It's a mouthful for sure, but it just kind of walks you down the path of how we're able to take qualified assets, so pre-tax money that has not been taxed yet, and appease the IRS at the same time. So what we do is essentially we first transfer it into a One America IRA annuity. From there, we do a 10-year distribution that will systematically come out of that IRA annuity to fund our whole life asset-based long-term care policy. So just to summarize there, that hence is where the annuity funding whole life name came from. But as we're looking at this example, we actually have a married couple, a 60-year-old male and a 60-year-old female, and we're going to utilize the husband's IRA money. He's got 160,000 that we are going to reposition to One America. So when we transfer that $160,000 into One America's IRA annuity, we immediately turn on this income rider. And because we immediately turn on the income rider, we provide that client's $160,000 transfer a 25% premium bonus. So that's where you see the additional 40,000. So that 160,000 transfer now becomes 200,000 sitting in that IRA annuity that we are going to do a 10-year distribution on. So you'll see that $20,000 coming out of that IRA annuity to make the initial premium into what we call our asset care policy. The asset care policy is structured as a 10-pay asset care paid up policy. So that $20,000 goes and pays up both the life insurance component of the policy. So you'll see that on the left-hand side as a dark blue block with the death benefit of $177,600. And it also pays up the annual premium for the continuation of benefits rider. In this particular design, we're designing it with unlimited benefits. So we're providing both the husband and the wife a lifetime of benefits. So what does that monthly benefit look like per person? It's going to be $7,400 a month per person for each of their lifetime. So if neither one of them go on claim, which is kind of always the fear, right? What if I buy this long-term care policy and I never have a long-term care event whatsoever? This policy, because it is on a life chassis, will provide a death benefit paid out to their beneficiary. So in this case, it's $177,600 that will pay out to their beneficiary. Otherwise, they have a long-term care event, whether one or both, they're getting $7,400 per person or almost $1,500 a month if both of them happen to be on claim at the same time.
And Jen, look, that's really unique because One America is actually the only carrier left with an unlimited lifetime benefit.
That is correct.
And I want to touch on one more thing. What happens if you go on claim early? Let's say I'm 5 years into the policy and I go on claim. What happens to my money then?
I love that you asked that question because every single one of our asset care policy that has an annual premium or a recurring premium component to it, we automatically include waiver of premium. And when I say waiver premium, it is a true waiver. We don't claw back premiums once you come off of claim or anything like that, or take it out of the death benefit pool. It is a true waiver. So in your case, example where you're saying, okay, what if one of them happens to go on claim at year 5? Remember, this is a 10-year annual distribution to pay up this asset care policy. So at year 5, we're only halfway through funding the asset care policy from that IRA annuity. So remember, the premium into the asset care is $20,000. At year 5, let's say the husband goes on claim first. He's 65 years old. We're going to waive that $20,000 annual premium for as long as he's on claim. So what happens to the $20,000 distribution that's coming out of that IRA annuity? Well, David, I'm going to ask you, do you have any guesses? You already know the answer, I know, but
I do.
So
I get to keep it, right?
You do get to keep it, right? So if you're the 65-year-old husband that's on claim that owns that IRA, we can't stop an income rider. We can't stop the 10-year distribution coming out of this IRA. So what we're going to do is we're going to issue that $20,000 check back to you, David, while you're on claim and receiving a tax-free monthly benefit of $7,400 because you have a long-term care claim event. Now, let's say you're on claim for 6 years and then you recover. and you get better and you come off of claim, because that can happen. We see people come on and off of claim multiple times. That's one of the beauty of having an unlimited benefit pool, to have that lifetime benefit option. You can come in and out of claim multiple times. So if that's the case, we're past the 10-year policy itself, right? So we're at, if you were on a 6-year claim, you started claim at year 5, we're either at policy year 11 or we're at policy year 12. Remember, this is a 10 pay. It's a paid up policy. So you were receiving for the last 5 years $20,000 from your IRA annuity, and you were receiving that monthly benefit. And now you've recovered, you have a paid up policy. We don't claw back the distribution coming out of the IRA. And now you and your wife have the peace of mind that your policy is still in force in the future.
All right. And Jen, look, when we coach advisors on how to show this, we always tell them, look, you want to show lifetime, but you also want to show another option, which is going to be a defined benefit period, right? And what we see is about 20 to 30% of the time, clients choose a lifetime benefit. They want that. They've had some type of experience that drives them down the road to saying, hey, look, my mom went on claim for 10 years, 7 years. It was $12,000 a year. I have this huge fear of that. I want to have that. So we always say, look, you want to show them the lifetime benefit, right? Now, there's another option we like to show them here as well, which is actually going to be a 6-year benefit period. This is the best, this is kind of statistically the one that makes the most amount of sense. And in either scenario, we can attach inflation to this. So the numbers on this screen represent age 85 for a client. Jen, walk us through this because it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so this is a finite pool that we're designing here for the client. So with 72 months of benefit that's shared between both the husband and the wife in this case. But we're using the same premium amount. We're going to transfer $160,000 from the husband's IRA in this scenario. He's still going to receive that 25% bonus because he's transferred those funds into One America's IRA annuity. We're still doing the 10-year distribution. So the total $200,000 pool that was sitting in that IRA is going to peel off $20,000 every year for 10 years to pay a 10-pay asset care. But because the premium now is being split up between the whole life chassis, the whole life component of the policy, and just a limited or finite pool, not the unlimited continuation of benefits rider, the premium is going to kind of make the monthly benefit a little bit more robust. It's going to beef it up a little bit. So instead of the $7,400 a month benefit that we saw on the previous example, in this example, it's been beefed up to $10,945 a month per person until the total pool of $849,585 has been exhausted. So that's kind of the shared pool initially. So if we add inflation, we're going to see that pool continue to grow every single year and get larger. When that pool gets larger, the maximum monthly benefit of the $10,945 a month also increases as well. So that makes it a little bit more robust, but we do have a finite pool. It's limited to whatever that pool is until it's been exhausted.
And if the client goes on claim, does the inflation continue?
So if they're still on claim, yes, the inflation continues. We do not stop it. And we have options as well. I want to preface, we have options where it can grow for 20 years and stop. The cost to that rider is going to be a little bit less than, let's say you choose a lifetime growth or a lifetime inflation growth. So that one's going to cost a little bit more. So depending on which option you choose, it can grow and stop at 20 years, even when you're on claim. Or if you choose the lifetime growth, it will continue to grow even while you're on claim for 20, 30, 40 years.
Excellent. And a question came through, and I want to make sure we answer this. Is so that $20,000 a year distribution, that every single year, that is a taxable event. It's taxed as ordinary income. That's why we're looking at clients who are 59 and a half or older.
That is correct. Thank you for reminding me that. I forgot to bring that up. So yes, the distribution itself will cause a 1099 to be issued. So it is a taxable event and it will be taxed on your ordinary income. Think of this as a super Roth conversion, right? With a Roth conversion, when you're around 60 years old, 60-ish years old, your tax advisor will probably advise, if you have a pretty substantial, you know, retirement account that hasn't been taxed yet, they're going to advise you to go ahead and do a Roth conversion. With Roth conversions, it's essentially the same thing. You're going to take that distribution, pay taxes on that distribution each year so that you can get a tax-free distribution coming out of that Roth IRA in the future. We're essentially doing the same thing, but with long-term care benefits. So here, the benefits, essentially what we're trying to accomplish here is to spend down your qualified assets now to minimize what your RMDs may be when you hit 72, 73 years old, so that you can withdraw tax-free benefits when you have that long-term care event.
All right. And one more question, Jen. If let's say it's the husband's IRA, can he use those funds to buy a policy on the wife?
Absolutely, he can.
Excellent. So quick answer there. And then I want to highlight something. We did not pull these numbers out of air. They are not arbitrary numbers, okay? I spent a lot of time working with one specific advisor and a whole book of clients to figure out the right amounts, the right ages, the right demographic. So if you want to write something down as far as who to look at in your client book, you want to look at married couples, 60 or older, who own a home between $1 and $5 million of net worth. If they have a pension, that $1 million can come down a little bit lower. I'm not saying that individuals outside of those brackets don't choose to do this. Many do. I'm going and telling you, here's the first set you want to look at, because 75% of the time, when we show those clients this illustration, they proceed with having a long-term care conversation with you and start moving that down the road. The other thing, 160,000, how did we land there? 100,000 just wasn't enough juice in the squeeze. It didn't buy enough. Now, what's weird is the ratio is the same. It doesn't matter. There's no price banding. You don't put more in and you get exponentially more on the top end of it. It's the same across the board. But 160, when you're under 67, will continually trigger over $500,000 in benefit. And that was the key figure. How much do we need to put in to get 4-to-1 leverage and trigger over $500,000 in benefit? So that's the demographic, that's the design. These are not arbitrary figures. These are things that Jen and I have spent a lot of time figuring out. Here's exactly what works. And what we found out was versus showing 200 or 250 or versus showing 100. When we showed 150, we got more people coming in at 200 and 250 than we did when we were showing 200 or 250. So it's good to start right here and then we can adjust from there. Now, the next thing I want to go into here is oftentimes when I'm sitting down with a financial advisor, they're going to say, well, David, what happens if I invest those funds? And I say, okay, cool. Let's assume you are going to invest those funds. And then we want to say, okay, but if we're going to invest those funds, we're probably going to invest those funds a little bit more conservatively, right? And they said, yeah, because we want to earmark those. We want to make sure they're a little bit on the safer side. So what I did was we actually built a calculator for this. And this right here assumes the clients we just looked at, male, female, 60, putting in $160,000. And we looked at a 6% return, right? So I'm going to call that semi-conservative, right? Some would say maybe even 4 or 5% would be a little bit more conservative. We're going to go to 6% here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the male who's going to go on claim first and for a shorter period of time, because males, we just die faster. That is statistically true. All right, so we're going to say 2 years of claim at $8,000 a month. And the female, the widow, she's going to go on claim from 85 to 89. They've got grandkids, she's got a dog, she's going to live a little bit longer, and it's going to be a little bit more expensive because she's not going to have him there to help her out like she was there to help him out. So really, really diving into this here. If we look at that and we just said, hey, look, David, I want to invest the 150. We're going to keep it growing at 6%. That's pretty safe. We're in California, let's say, or another, let's call it like mid-tax state. So we're going to say a 23% combined tax rate. Now, remember, when he dies, she's going to have to file a single, which may create a bump in that tax bracket. And if we look at it, we have to accelerate not just the $8,000 a month, but we have to account for more coming out because we have to offset those taxes as well. So we have $481,000 in your IRA at age 80. As he goes on claim, you're going to continue earning that 6% through the claim period, but you're also going to be making withdrawals. After he's done on claim, you're at $282,000. When she goes on claim, gets that first year coming out, by the second year, there's only $56,000 left at the end of the second year. And guess what? Age 87, halfway through, there's no more money left in that IRA. Conversely, if we look over at using the One America program and rolling those funds over, we're going to get $672,000 of benefit paid entirely tax-free. There's still $177,000 left over. So what I tell people is, look, if you're going to earmark money, A, you need to earmark them enough. However, if you leverage a percentage, you reposition just a percentage of your assets, now you've earmarked that amount, and now you can go chase higher returns. You can make longer term investments with the money that you didn't have to earmark for long-term care. If you want to run an analysis like this, just reach out to us. We can put that together for you. All right. Now, Jen, I'm going to come back to you here because there's another product on One America's board, and it's two features. One, it involves the Pension Protection Act, and two, underwriting's pretty darn easy. So why don't you take us through that?
Sure. Yeah. So just a quick high-level explanation of what that Pension Protection Act that you just brought up. So back in 2006, and it really went into effect in 2010, the government passed the Pension Protection Act, and there's a lot to really digest with the Pension Protection Act, but there's a specific provision within the Pension Protection Act that states that if you have an existing non-qualified annuity that has some gains in it, if you left it where it currently is and you were to tap into that non-qualified annuity and took a withdrawal, then we know it's going to come out LIFO, last in, first out, meaning that the gains were last in, gains come out first and becomes taxable. But the Pension Protection Act allows you to 1035 exchange that non-qualified annuity into a Pension Protection Act compliant annuity that allows you to take those gains out now completely tax-free to be used for long-term care expenses. So that's what the Pension Protection Act is. So One America said, hey, we love this provision within the Pension Protection Act. Let's create and manufacture a product around it. So we have annuity care. So in this example here, we have a 77-year-old female. Her health, not so good. She is not going to get qualified for any long-term care insurance with anybody. But she's able to answer 4 knockout questions and answer no to them, which I will unveil to you momentarily, so that she can utilize her existing non-qualified annuity, transfer it over to One America, and be able to tap into those funds, including the gains, completely tax-free. And because she was able to answer no to the 4 knockout questions, she's instantly approved. Doesn't even pass an underwriter's desk. It goes straight to our case manager to process that policy. So here at age 87, if she had an event, so let's look at year 10 here, she puts in $200,000. By age 87, she can take out $8,874 a month, completely tax-free until her pool of $306,000 has been exhausted. So again, all the gains that were originally in her existing non-qualified annuity, including the gains that has grown within the One America annuity care policy, will come out tax-free for her.
Now, Jen, I've had some individuals do this who are 80 years old, 81 years old, and they're not even buying much leverage. But when we started with the 3 burdens, one of those things we talked about was the administrative burden. And as I said, if you partner with the right insurance company, you're going to be able to offload that. Would you spend just 60 seconds talking about your care concierge and why, even if you're not getting a lot of leverage, that matters significantly to the client?
Yeah, you brought up one of the burdens was the administrative, and that's the most overlooked burden when we talk about long-term care. So One America, because our asset-based long-term care product suite is our flagship product suite, we want to build a robust claims department and claims process around that, meaning that we want to meet the families when they need us most. And I say family, not the individual policyholder, because when you have a long-term care event, it is a family affair. So we white glove the entire claims process with our claims concierge department, where you're assigned one individual, or I should say a team of three that individually monitors that particular claim from the start of the claim to the very end of the claim, because long-term care is a journey. It is not simply you pass away and the insurance company hands over that death benefit check to you and they are done with you. This journey, we want to stay with you through this journey, and we want to stay with the family through this journey, helping you through bill administration, getting paperwork filed correctly, and to be additional resources on, whatever coaching, therapy, whatever you need to overcome some of these burdens that you carry as a family member taking care of your loved ones.
All right. And lastly, walk us through underwriting for the annuity part. We're dealing with older age clients. We've got issues. How easy is it?
So I want to just mention that for this easy underwriting, which there's really no underwriting as long as you can answer no to the first four questions. If you answer no to the first four questions, it is instantly approved. So again, it does not even touch an underwriter's desk. It goes straight to processing and pulling that 1035 exchange over. The maximum issue age is the important thing I want to mention here. The maximum issue age that One America will consider is 87 years old. This is a great opportunity for you to go through your existing annuity book of business that maybe your client is in their 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and they're not going to turn it on for income at that age. They're probably just earmarking it for that long-term care event or medical emergency. So this is just a way to really get a bigger bang out of that annuity if it's just sitting out there.
Jen, look, I really, really appreciate you today. If you are local in Southern California, you will meet Jen because you will want to come to one of our in-person events. We have a whole calendar going through the end of the year right now. We're really, really big on education here, and it's all agnostic. We want to just inform you, get you up to speed, and make sure we're delivering the best solutions to your clients. So again, that's why we met today, is we find this to be an astronomically good solution for clients who have qualified funds, pre-tax funds. 97% of the assets in this country are retirement funds, and nobody's paid tax on them yet. This is a great tool for using that and for getting long-term care in place. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Jen, again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, have a great one.